Hello. I'm sort of sitting in a black void because it's dark and cloudy out and sun's gone down. So this is kind of me interjecting a little bit. It's currently January 8th, and I've done a couple of the vlogs, and recently in a few of them I was talking a fair amount about some of the bloating and some of the pain that caused. So I wanted to kind of interject a little bit to give a bit of comparison. I looked at some of the pictures, and it's not the easiest to tell, but in this type of a procedure, the PPT, when they're going to be going in any procedure, really, not just a PPT, but anytime they're going down and messing in your abdomen, around your organs and things like that, where they don't have necessarily direct access, like in a C-section, they just have to move the muscles, open the belly, and they can get at the womb in that sort of area. So they don't necessarily do the same thing. But in this, they're going to be threading part of your, like if this is my abdomen and this is the bottom area where, say, the anus is, they're taking a flap from here, but they've got to pull that and thread it through all of my organs. And in order to reduce the chance that they're going to nick an organ, scratch an organ, cut an organ, or something like that, especially your bowels, which can be very bad, they'll fill you with gas. Probably a nitrogen mix, because most of oxygen that we breathe is nitrogen anyway. But that inflation allows the organs to separate, and they can kind of move things out of the way a little bit and gives them a bit of extra room to pull, move, or do whatever they need to do in whatever procedure you're having. But that gas takes time for your body to absorb it and move it out wherever it's going to. But that gas really is very uncomfortable. For me, that was more uncomfortable than anything else because of what it did. Now, it worked in conjunction with the packing, and I've seen, because there's a vlog coming up in a moment where I discuss, because I recently talked about having the packing removed. I've seen a number of different threads, posts, videos from the different types of packing. Some of them will use like a condom stuffed with gauze, and they'll stick the condom up there and the condom comes out a little easier. But those may, I'm not going to say because I'm not a medical professional, but I would be surprised if they would use one that's got any type of coating on it, just simply because that's probably bad for being healed. And they need a certain type of lube to ensure everything's good, and they're not trying to kill sperm and anything like that. Mine was not stuffed into a condom. It was literally just gauze and sponges kind of stuffed up in there, and then they went and pulled it out. It took about 8 to 10 seconds to pull that out. But that packing, while it feels like they're taking an arm or literally disemboweling you, it's really not all that much. It's just because it's stuck and kind of popping out of the sensitive area that's a little moist, that it's kind of adhered to a little bit. That removal is less than pleasant, but all in, it was probably maybe a size 2, maybe a size 3, size 4 dilator size, maybe a little more, but overall, they put the packing in there carefully. They're not meant to be stretching stitches or things like that, so they're really not trying to push its limits. They're just trying to keep it from prolapsing and allow for some shifting and movement as you move and heal. But that's going up a new canal that your body wasn't born with specifically. And because of that, other organs may kind of be in the way. And as the gas starts to absorb out, that packing is going to start impacting on things. And if you look at any of the videos of where the organs actually are, there is very little space for anything inside your body. It's a very compact area. And so the vaginal canal is like right up against the bladder, and then that's right on top of the bowels, or certain threads of the bowels as they go through. And when everything got inflated, it just put so much pressure on everything. And then you're sitting in the hospital bed and you can't get comfortable, and you're like propped up at the horrible angle, and it's really uncomfortable. And for me, that made it very difficult to use the restroom and everything else. And this may be a little TMI. I don't like talking about too much TMI stuff, but there's going to be some vlogs with that coming up. But ultimately, you have a very difficult time going to the restroom. You've just done a massive colon cleanse, and you've basically blasted everything out, including your gut biome that helps digest and keep things moving more regularly. That's the point of taking a probiotic. It helps digest the food and rebuild your biome. But doing a colon cleanse, you eject all of that. So you got nothing, and then your body can't really do anything. And then you don't eat a lot of food, and then you're dehydrated and you're down on fluids. Again, if they nick an organ, they don't want any of that being in your bowels or your body to spread out and cause problems, so you're kind of empty for all of that. But then you start taking a bunch of medicine, and that medicine can cause diarrhea or it can cause constipation. And because your gut biome is pretty much non-existent anymore, it's got to start over and rebuild. There is some there, don't get me wrong, but it's not what it was before surgery. And so things don't move properly. You'll get a little bit through, you may have some diarrhea. Other things are just going to get stuck. And you need to know your body a little bit to kind of understand how things contribute if you're going to make it through without any real kind of problems. I do know my body fairly well, and I know the type of foods that tend to cause me problems. Nothing I ate in the hospital was really a problem. It was more dehydration from lack of water for a long time, and I was drinking water. It's just fevers, sleeping. I wasn't consuming as much as I would normally do over the course of a day, even if I'm exercising. But up front, you got to rebuild all of that, and it takes time. So in getting back to the pressure, when you're laying there, you've got your body all inflated, so everything's kind of pushing and jumbled because the gas is shoving it everywhere. In some folks, this may make it easier for you not to have quite as much pressure, but the downside to that is that gas pressure is also pushing on the packing that's in your new organ, and that in turn, for me, was pushing on my bowels, which basically blocked me up. And that became a very big problem, as some future vlogs will highlight. It didn't cause any major health risks. It made dilation miserable at certain times. And I could feel it. Like when I would go to dilate, I could feel hitting the end when I shouldn't be at the end yet. And then I could feel that in my intestines, and I can hear it to this day. If I'm dilating too soon after a meal or too long after a meal, that meals and other stuff is starting to move through the colon and down through the bowels, and other stuff is being pushed forward towards the exit, and now I'm dilating into that. So I have to be very careful about when and timing and everything, and you'll learn your own body and all this stuff. It's really not a scary, bad issue. It just contributed to a little bit of misery as I was figuring this out. So when I left the hospital and I got back to the Airbnb, I had that vlog where I was like, I wasn't taking anything beyond Advil and Tylenol. I did not take any of the opioids. I took nothing stronger than Advil and Tylenol extra strength. But I was so exhausted. I had gabapentin, which is like a nerve dampening agent, and I was on some other minor things to try and help keep urination smooth and stable and try to reduce infection. So nothing on a painkiller side, but just kind of a numbing and relaxation thing. But I wasn't out of it strictly because of that. It's because I had fever after fever, and I couldn't sleep, and I was so exhausted. I was just burned out by the time I got back. And trying to lay down again felt great, but the downside to that was, even though I had 3 pillows kind of propping me up at a slight angle, I still, when I would go to sleep, was putting so much pressure from all that heavy gas in my big belly, pushing down on the packing, pushing down on my spine and my lower back, and it hurt. My back was shot, and I couldn't do anything about it. Like normally you could cross your legs, kind of roll onto a side, and that's kind of what I was doing. I couldn't really cross my legs anymore because I got a big old packing in, but I can't really do it with a finger, but I kind of put one leg up and over and just kind of pushed over a little bit so I could roll just a smidge to off-center myself, and that really did give me some relief. It seemed small. Even now when I go to dilate, sometimes I'm still at a bit of an angle. I have a rolled up undershirt from a long time ago that I just stick under my lumbar just for a little bit extra support. I don't have back pain typically. I don't have back problems, but it's something I've noticed after that. And it's not a major issue. Again, it's not impacting my quality of life. It's just at that moment during recovery, it was brutal. So what I've got now is this is the surgical picture post-op of my belly with the handcrafted Band-Aids that they put on the laparoscopy scars. Right after surgery, this was the next day. Might have even been that evening, afternoon, I don't remember. But either way, it's very close to surgery, within a couple hours to a day. And then this is what it looked like a few months on. I'll put the date and time on the screen. I don't have it right in front of me as I'm recording this. And And this is me as of January 7th, Sunday, January 7th. This is what my tummy looks like now. My weight overall has been okay. I'm still a little up from where I was before. Again, some of that's me ramping back up to regular lifestyle, as well as trying to become functional. I've still got some swelling and other things. It's all fine. But last night I was going for my evening walk, and I decided to jog a short, maybe 100 feet 4 times on my 2 laps around my complex. It's about 1.7 miles for 2 laps around my complex. So I jogged the bottom and top portions, which equates about 400 total feet of jogging. But it's the first time I've jogged since I got surgery, and it was really wonderful to be able to do that. But I could feel things kind of jiggling around in my stomach, and I was like, oh yeah, I still got to rebuild my abdominal muscles and all these things. I'm working on it, and it's coming back. It's a slow, long road, considering I'm barely just past 6 months post-op. So the fact that I'm out doing that stuff again is really quite nice. But I was watching the vlog, and I was like, yeah, it's really hard to understand the amount of bloatation because you don't have a frame of context for my waist. Typically, I have about a 30-inch waist. After surgery, when I was looking down at my belly, I would say that my waist was no longer a 30-inch. It was probably 35 to 36. It goes down pretty quick. I was probably back down to a 35, 34 within the week, and then the packing came out, and that helped move more of the gas through the body as it naturally absorbs it and passes it out. But then I was probably down to a 33, 32, and then the rest was just swelling for the next few months, getting the last few inches off. But I remember trying to put on the menstruation underwear that I bought, and I tried it on pre-op to make sure it fit and all that stuff. And even though it wasn't fitting properly because of the old equipment that was in the way, no problems on the waist. When I put it on needing it post-op, it was really tight and it was uncomfortable. Some of that's swelling, some of that was weight gain, just natural. You're not moving around as much, but it was noticeably tight. And now I put them on, and they're very comfortable again. So I just wanted to highlight and kind of call out that aspect of the swelling to try and give a little bit more insight into kind of why that really hurt my back and why getting the packing out really restored mobility, because suddenly my whole internals were like, we've got 2 inches of space again, and yay, everything could start flowing properly, and it was just a huge relief. And then I could lay down, and all that wasn't pressing on my lower back, and so it took a while, but it was immediate relief. That first night after the packing came out, I could immediately tell the difference, and the next morning it was better, but it was still a week and a half before my back kind of felt okay again. And then posture's difficult because you can't sit right for a long time, and so just a lot of things to pay attention to. But anyway, that was all I wanted to do. Interjection from future me, and now we'll go back to regular vlogs after this one. So bye.